Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my 5-star wrap-up for 2022. At the end of last year, I made a list of 12 books that I thought would be 5 stars, and I am here to wrap it up because I have completed the list, at least to the best of my abilities. So there were 12 total books on that list, and I read 10 of the 12, and the 2 that I didn't read weren't released this year. The 2 that weren't released this year were In the Lives of Puppets by DJ Clune, which now does have a cover. I'm going to pop it up right here, but this got pushed back to 2023, I think summer, and I do have an arc of this now, but I'm not going to be able to finish it before the year ends, and it does, like I said, doesn't come out until like June, I think, so I'm not going to read it until closer to release date anyways. And then the other one is Up to No Good by Rosie Danan, which has gone through a couple title changes. It looks like it's going to be 2023, but there's still no cover, no synopsis, nothing like that. So I don't know what's going on with this one, but I obviously didn't read it. So the other 10 I did read, and I'm just going to go over a couple stats really quick because I find that fascinating. So of the 10, I gave 6 of them 5 stars, which is only a 60%. Like, I know that's like technically a failing grade, but I feel like that's a pretty solid average. Like, I feel like I know my reading taste, you know what I mean? And of the other ones, the majority of the other ones were 4.5 stars. So I only gave 1 book on this entire list less than a 4-star. So I feel like I did a really good job. I do have a new list for 2023 coming next week, so hopefully I can recreate this and do just as well, if not better. But let's just get right into the books and see which ones I gave 5 stars. So the first one on that list was Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This was the follow-up to It Happened One Summer, and I gave actually both of them 5 stars. I gave this one 5 stars. I really loved this. I am on the fence about whether or not I'm going to continue to read Tessa Bailey, only because of some of the stuff that she's been doing and like how she's been responding or not responding to certain criticisms. However, I did really love this. I gave this one 5 stars. It was a friends to lovers romance. It was a forced proximity because our heroine is living with the hero. The hero is dealing with some self-esteem things. I really ended up enjoying this one. I don't want to dwell on it too much because, like I said, I am on the fence about whether or not I will continue to read this author's books, but I did give this one 5 stars, so yay me. After that was The League of Gentlewomen Witches by India Holton, and I, again, gave this one 5 stars. This was the sequel to The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels. Lady Scoundrels? Yeah, Lady Scoundrels. Apparently I don't know any book titles today. But this one was following like the rivals of the pirates, which are the witches. They're kind of competing for control. Both of them know the same spell, but the way that they use it is very different. The pirates are very like in your face. They're always flying around big houses, and the witches try to keep their like magic a secret, and so they're always on like opposite ends of these arguments, and it is a romance between a witch and a pirate, and it was really good. I love how fun this series is. It is such a unique take on historical romance with this like weird fantasy twist, and I laugh the entire way through the series. I have such a good time. I'm insanely excited for book 3. And spoiler, it will be on my 5-star prediction. Next was Beautiful Nightmares by KJ Sutton. And this is the behemoth 4th book in the Fortuna Sworn series. And I ended up giving this one 4 stars just because it was really, really long. But I absolutely adore this series. I believe book 5 is going to be coming out in 2023. I did not put the next book on a like on my 5-star prediction list, only because I know that Kelsey has slowed down in her writing and I didn't know if it was going to be released in 2023. So I just decided to leave it off, and then whenever it releases, I will definitely be reading it because I adore the series. There are 2 books left and I am so interested to see where it goes and like how she wraps everything up. This is a fae fantasy romance with our heroine who is a nightmare. Essentially, she can use your darkest fears against you, and at the beginning of the series, she is on the hunt to find and save her brother, and it turns into a lot more from there. There's an amazing love triangle that I am desperate to know the answer to. 4 stars to this one, but it was still a really, really fantastic read. Another fantasy was A Cruel and Fated Light by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is a YA fae fantasy, and this one I did give 5 stars to. Why? Anyways, this is the sequel to A Dark and Hollow Star. A Dark and Hollow Star, which I had given 5 stars to last year, and I loved this one just as much. I love the main characters in here. I love the audiobooks for the series because it's told from like multiple points of view and there are multiple narrators, and it just helps me keep all of the characters straight in my head because there are a lot of characters and a lot of moving parts. But I loved how the romances developed in here. I loved how the plot progressed. There are some big reveals in here, which I really loved. And I don't know when the third book is coming out. I don't know if it is next year, but whenever it does come out, I do plan to reread these just because there is so much packed in here that I'm going to need a refresher. Can't even remember the book titles. There's no way I remember everything that happens in here. After that was Husband Material by Alexis Hall, and this one wasn't quite a 5-star. I give this one 4.5, which seems to be an unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people straight up hated this book, and I get it. I really do. I understand why so many people were legitimately angry about this book, but I actually quite liked it. I just loved being back with these characters. I thought the chaos fit their personality and their relationship. This is an MM romance surrounding these two guys who are total opposites. We have Luke, who is super messy and all over the place and emotional, and Oliver, who is very type A and like straight laced, and it is their ridiculous romance. This book is a sequel to The Boyfriend Material, and in this one, they are feeling the pressure to get married, and it is them trying to decide if they want to get married or not. I know the ending, like, legitimately angered people, but I give this one 4.5 stars. Like I said, I understand the criticisms and the hatred for it, but I thought the chaos fit them. Then we have Love on the Brain by Ellie Hazelwood, which of course I gave 5 stars to. This is another one that I know a lot of people were not super pleased with. Ellie Hazelwood has been criticized for being very formulaic, and I totally agree. I 100% agree. Her characters are the same, her plots are the same, the beats that she hits are all the same, and I like it every single time. And I will continue to read it and I think love it every single time. This was another STEMinist romance, opposites attract, miscommunication, all of the things. And I really liked the romance. I liked the characters, I liked the hero. I find her books to just be super enjoyable. Next up is actually the lowest rated book on this list. However, I don't feel any, like, I don't know, hard feelings towards this book. I actually quite liked this book and I do recommend this book, but that was The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. That rating makes it seem like I didn't like this book, but I actually really liked it. 3.5 stars for my rating, like for me, that's like a good book. It just wasn't quite something that I fell in love with. And that was the case with this one. I really liked it and I really liked this author's writing. But as for why this got a 3.5 and not a 4, one, I will say I think I was a little harsh on it after reading back through my review, because I do talk about how much I liked this author duo's writing and the prose and the characters and everything like that. But I felt like the plot lost steam. These two have a lot of roadblocks in their way for why they can't be together, including both external and internal conflicts. And by the time that you get to the end, there is like a big reveal that happens. And I just felt like that reveal was so anticlimactic that it just felt like it kind of like fizzled out. And so I think that's part of the reason why I ended up giving this lower rating, was because the fizzle was at the end and not at the beginning. Whereas books that start off slow and end in a bang, I tend to rate a little bit higher because my current feelings at the end of the book are different, if that makes any sense. So this one did fizzle out towards the end, at least I felt like it did. So that's why I got a slightly lower rating, but I would say that that rating might be a little harsh, but 3.5 stars is what I gave it on Goodreads, so we'll stick with that. Then I have I Kissed Ashara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston, and this one I gave 4 stars. This is such a beautiful edition of this book. This is a YA contemporary romance, which is definitely not my genre, and the only reason I actually picked this one up is because it is Casey McQuiston. And even though I never seem to enjoy YA contemporaries, Casey McQuiston can of course make me love anything. This one is kind of like a teenage drama where we are following Shara, who is like the queen bee at the high school, and she disappears and leaves letters to these 3 people that are really close to her: her boyfriend, her neighbor, and a girl that she suddenly kissed in an elevator, and the 3 of them are trying to find Shara. I thought that this book had a lot of really interesting things to say. I really enjoyed how it addressed queer culture in an environment where being queer is not accepted. And I really liked all of that. I will say that the plot in here is it's a little contrived, but I did have a really good time reading this. There was a point in here where I was very nervous about what this was going to do because the plot changes around like the 70-ish% mark. Like it kind of takes a turn, and I was very nervous getting to that part about the direction that it was going to go. But I did end up liking what Casey McQuiston did with the end of the book. So 4 stars to this one. Not my favorite of their books, but still super enjoyable. Then we have the book that I read most recently, and that is A Wilderness of Stars by Shea Ernshaw, and this was another 5-star book. This is another one that is kind of a shock because I do not read sci-fi at all. I love watching sci-fi movies, but I never read sci-fi. But I knew that Shea Ernshaw books are always 5 stars for me. This is my 4th book by her, and 3 of them have been 5 stars. So I was feeling trusting going into this one, and it ended up being fantastic. Just like with all of her other books, her writing is absolutely stunning. There is just something so immersive and lush about the worlds that she builds, and I am sucked into it every single time. I read this book both physically and via audio, and I liked both of them. This is one of those books very similar to if you read her last book, A History of Wild Places, where as you're reading it, you're kind of left in the dark about what is really happening. So you think you understand what the plot is for the first like 3/4 of the book or so, and then something happens and you suddenly realize what is actually happening. And I just find that so amazing, like that she can pull that off, because I got to like the reveal in here and I was like, yeah, I should have seen that one coming. I didn't at all. And I think part of that is because I find her like writing so beautiful. So I'm so wrapped up in what I am reading that I'm not really thinking about what is coming next. I don't want to spoil it, but the ending did hurt quite a bit. I cried. I do cry pretty often in books, like I am a crier, but if a book can make me cry, I almost always give it 5 stars just because that is a very strong emotional reaction. And so if your plot and characters and story can elicit that intense of a reaction, that usually means that it is something that I absolutely love. So 5 stars to this one. I really, really liked it. I didn't talk about the plot at all. Essentially, we're following our heroine, who is an astronomer, and she is watching for a star event to happen. And when said star event happens, she needs to leave her home where she is like secreted away and go find the architect. And the two of them need to find something. That's the plot. I talked about this in my vlog, but I find the full synopsis that is like on Goodreads to be minorly spoilery because it gives you a lot of plot that doesn't happen until like the 40-ish% mark. So I would just go into it knowing that little blurb that it is her traveling, trying to save humanity from a sickness. And then the final book is another one that was like an easy one to put on this list, and that was Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which of course I gave 5 stars. I was going to say every Emily Henry I've read 5 stars, but I did give her Charlotte Holmes series 4 stars, I think, but all of her romances have been 5 stars for me. I love her characters. I love her humor. I love her romances and the chemistry she creates between the characters. I always call her books super millennial, and I think that's part of the reason why I like them so much is because they are so relatable as a millennial. This is very Hating Game-esque where you're following these two rivals in the workplace. They don't work together. He's like a rival editor, and the two of them have a small town romance. If I'm remembering correctly, Emily Henry pitched this as a Hallmark movie, but if the heroine didn't fall in love with a small town hero, didn't change her ways, and instead fell in love with another city man. And that's very much what this is. Both of them love the city. They both love their jobs, but they feel like they need to take a break. And so they both end up going unknowingly to the same small town. And our heroine is she's trying to find her like small town romance. She's an editor for all of these romances, and all of these romances have these like really powerful, stressed women going to the small town and like discovering the meaning of life and finding these amazing romances. And she wants to experience that herself. But when she gets there, she realizes that she does love her job, and she loves her nice clothes, and she loves her apartment in the city. And when she runs into her editor, the two of them end up having this romance. I liked the sister bond. I liked the mutual pining. I liked the small town setting. And I really liked that in this one, we didn't get that like heroine admitting that she wants to give up everything and like be a mom, and instead like embracing the fact that she is like a powerful woman. She didn't give any of that up. And I really loved that. I really enjoyed this one a whole lot. So that is all of my 5-star predictions. Like I said, I'm really proud of myself for reading everything on that list, other than the ones that I literally wasn't able to read. And like a 60% average, I feel like that's pretty solid. I do have my most anticipated wrap up coming next, and I didn't quite do as well with that one. I have a 2023 5-star prediction coming next week, so we will talk about 12 more books that I think are going to be 5 stars. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Bye!